What's up, guys? With the embargo lifted and the pre-download patch downloaded and Datamine now, we've been able to get a pretty good idea on what changes are coming to Druid. And what are those changes? Nothing. There has been pretty much zero Datamine changes, and we've gained basically no knowledge from any of the videos. Not many people played Druid, it seems. There was a couple videos out there, but we didn't really learn anything new about them. So I figured in this video, we'd kind of go over maybe things that I expect to be nerfed or things I'd like to be buffed would be nice. We did find a couple other random things I was going to talk about. For example, the whole damage formula that was going around, the damage buckets. It's kind of similar to that, but it's not quite that. It's much more simple than that. Pretty much it's what people originally said, where like, for the most part, if you see like an X in front of something, it's multiplicative. If you see a plus sign in front of something, it's additive, so it's not as big. But you'll see a lot of the X's on like aspects or skill tree, legendary nodes, and then you'll see a lot of the pluses elsewhere, like glyphs are pretty much additive and things like that. So with that in mind, I'm gonna have to go back and like adjust the Paragon trees. It's not gonna be that much different, but probably just prioritize a couple things here and there. I do want to work on like the like early Paragon trees. Oh, that was one thing I learned too, was glyphs apparently actually start with 3 radius, which I didn't know. I assumed they started at like 0 and you had to level them up to get radius, so I wasn't going to prioritize glyphs. But now that I know glyphs actually start at a 3 radius, that's going to change up my like just a little bit on the Paragon board. But speaking of the Paragon board, the other thing I learned from watching videos was it looks like, now I'll go ahead and jinx it, but it looks like you can get Tempest Roar pretty, I don't know if early is the right word, but much earlier than I think a lot of people were expecting. A lot of these videos in the early 50s, people had multiple uniques. They had Vasily's Tempest Roar in like the mid 50s, which is not very late at all. It's quite early in the game, actually. Pretty much as soon as you walk into World Tier 3, if you start doing a couple health tides, it looks like it's a pretty decent chance to start getting them, especially since you can target farm helmets and health tides. So with that in mind, going back to the Paragon boards, I originally was going to make that mid-game build and follow the Paragon boards. I actually don't think I'm going to use a different Paragon board. I think I'm actually just going to go straight into the Stormwolf Paragon board, because if the way I started out, it's actually not that bad. I'll adjust the board slightly, but I think I'm just going to go straight into the Stormwolf board. Now, you can still go in the other one. It's not that expensive to reset your Paragon board, but if I'm just going to get a Tempest Roar possibly in the first 10 levels of World Tier 3, I'm just going to go ahead and start setting up for it and get ready to go with that. Again, who knows? Maybe I'm just jinxing myself, but it really looks like it's not that hard, or won't really take that long to actually get a Tempest Roar specifically. It looks like it's not that rare of a unique. It looks like people are getting uniques pretty often, but maybe that'll bite me in the ass. I don't think so. I think we'll be fine. It looks like Temerity is also not that rare, which are the 2 uniques for the Stormwolf build. So yeah, not too much has changed with that. I'll pull that up. Pretty much sticking with that build. And the only thing, I'm still unsure about Disobedience on the chest piece. I think it's really good. I just don't know how armor scales against monsters later. So yeah, getting a little off topic, but one of the other things I kind of learned a little bit about was we got a little more information on the spirit boons. From what it looked like, I couldn't really find the exact information, but it looks like you can go to any spirit boon you want right away, and you can pick any of them to start in, but it does look like you have to go from left to right. This was a picture I found where the first one cost 25, and then the next one, it's not like 50 total, it's like 50 for that one. So like to get to the second one, you'll need a total of like 75 and then 150. So you need a total of 250 offerings to unlock an entire row. And then there's 4 spirit animals, so 1,000 total spirit offerings, because you want to, even if you don't want them, you want to unlock all of them, because once you unlock all of them, you can pick a row to do a second spirit boon in. So this is actually, I'm not gonna lie, this is lower than I thought it would be. I figured it wouldn't be too hard to get the spirit boons because, you know, it's a class mechanic and everyone else kind of just gets there. It's just doing a little quest. I didn't think they'd make us grind too much, but this is pretty respectable. For the leveling build specifically, the pack leader and obsidian slam are both in the first row. So those are 25 each. I'm just going to grab both of them, obsidian slam and then pack leader. And then after that, I'll probably just go down all the way to Avian Wrath and just put my next 250 towards the crit damage. And then go into the deer tree, grab wariness. And then I'll probably just finish out deer with the next 100. And then, you know, just grab the rest. I don't know how long that'll take to finish. Probably wouldn't take much longer after you can start unlocking the spirit offerings. I feel like I was picking up quite a lot of them in beta. So yeah, I don't think this will be too much of a problem. I think it'll come pretty quick, pretty easy, especially if you like go to Skazglen in Act 2, and then if you don't like immediately go to the Druid area, because you can't even start until you're 15 anyway. I think you have to do like a stronghold. So if you kind of follow the campaign for a little bit, you'll pick up some offerings, and then you'll still be in Skazglen. You can just pop over there, or maybe the campaign will take you by that. So the spirit boons pretty much turned out the way we thought they would. All the buffs and like values and stuff are what we had already previously seen, so none of that changed. We did see like the thorns value is like 121, so if you want to do something with thorns, there you go, there's that. But yeah, spirit boons are looking solid. Should be able to pick up the ones we want while leveling, which will really help a lot with that. One other thing that I'm not sure if we learned, but it seems that way, that some people were talking about the Stormwolf build and using Direwolf with Tempest Roar, and it looks like you can actually, from the looks of it, it looks like whatever skills are on your bar when you transform into Direwolf, you keep all of them on your bar. So before we weren't sure. If people don't know, whenever you transform into Grizzly Rage or Direwolf, it puts all the 4 basic Werebear or Werewolf skills on your bar. But with Vasilis or Tempest Roar, they allow you to have more than just the basic skills as Werewolf and Werebear skills. So it looks like, based on these guides that were written, that whatever you have on your bar, if it's considered a Werewolf skill, when you transform, you keep. So we were able to kind of adjust a little bit of this stuff. The bar is probably going to look like this. Cyclone armor, you're not going to actually use this, so it's not a big deal if this doesn't stay on there, but you're not going to use claw or rabies, so it's kind of whatever. But something that I didn't talk about in the previous video, that I didn't actually put points in shred in the guide video. This is where, if you're really good, you'll put it here. I did not put this here for the video because I think, generally speaking, people won't use this correctly, or they'll forget about it, so there's probably no point in putting points here. Basically, with this setup, you essentially can dash, like blink, teleport to mobs. It's kind of like Shadow Step on Rogue, like 3 times with just 35 spirit. So this is like insane mobility. But if you aren't constantly like using this correctly, or you're like running out of spirit by using this, I don't want people to like make the character feel worse or play it incorrectly. So it's a fairly high skill cap portion of the build that I didn't want to include before, but you know, if you're watching this video, you just got an extra tip. So I did throw Cyclone armor back in. I didn't have this in the original build either, because it's kind of it's hard to explain to people that Cyclone armor, so if you put it on your bar and then you transform into Direwolf, when it's removed from your bar during Direwolf, you actually still have the passive portion of Cyclone armor. So I think a lot of people would have gotten confused about that part, but again, don't want to go too off topic. But so it looks like Direwolf, we can kind of put whatever we want on our bar. So this is probably what we're going to end up doing. Shred will actually be like our mobility skill. We have Bloodhowl to spam this, right? Attack speed, spirit, yada yada. Tornado, Hurricane for the damage reduction will be really nice. So yeah. So what are some of the things that I think will probably catch a nerf? I'm sure there's, it's funny you say that on a Druid, right? Because a lot of people are like, Druid being buffed, right? Well, there's actually some things that probably will get hit sooner or later once this build starts becoming more popular. I'll talk about the most obvious one, which is Aspect of the Rampaging Werebeast. Now, maybe this doesn't get nerfed because some other classes have some pretty crazy stuff, but from our understanding, this is not multiplicative critical strike damage, and it's actually only additive crit damage. Essentially, every time you crit, you get 10% additive crit damage. So if you're using Tornado and that's hitting tons of mobs, right? And you have Earthen Might, which has 100% crit, this is going to go kind of crazy, right? This, in my opinion, this is the first thing they should look at if they want to nerf something about this build. I'm afraid they're going to over nerf and like just nerf other things that aren't really that big of a deal. This is the one thing that could possibly get out of control. That being said, other classes do have some pretty crazy like one-off things. Like I won't get too much into like barbs and like gores and stuff like that, but maybe they end up leaving this as is. But this would be the first thing I would expect or would like them to nerf if they're going to nerf something about the build. So I would keep an eye out on this. It doesn't kill the build if they nerf this. If anything, they should just put like a cap on it where it's like, oh, you can get 10 stacks. So you get like 100% crit damage or something. So it's like, okay, you know, whatever. Nothing crazy, but it still does something. So I think that would be the first one I'd say. But tying into that, a lot of the things that are OP about Druid is because they like all kind of tie in together. So Earthen Might, I honestly don't really know how to fix this because the chance to proc it, generally speaking, is pretty low. Restoring all your spirit, I think that's fine actually. I think to restore all your spirit is probably fine. I could see this getting cut to like restore 50% of your spirit or restore like a percentage of your spirit, not a flat amount of spirit because you can increase your max spirit. I think like, you know, something like that. I think the problem is the 100% crit chance for 5 seconds. They could easily like cut that in half too, right? Where it's just like, oh, gain 50% critical strike for 5 seconds. Like I said, though, the chance to proc it is low. Against bosses, you can't even take advantage of the, you know, chance to proc while stunned, immobilized, or knocked back unless they're staggered. But yeah, I would not be surprised to see Earthen Might catch a nerf. Honestly, the capstones for Druid are all pretty solid. The one I don't like is Bestial Rampage. This one feels really underwhelming compared to the rest, but Earthen Might solid. Nature, I don't think Nature's Fury will catch a nerf. If anything, I believe Symbiotic will. I believe Symbiotic will most likely see the nerf. Whenever Nature's Fury triggers, you can reduce your cooldowns by up to 8 seconds. You can place this on an amulet for 12 seconds, a two-handed weapon for 16 seconds, although you probably wouldn't do that. But this is possibly another thing that's going to see a nerf. Maybe not even because of DPS. You'll see this in the ZDPS Druid builds, Z Druid builds, where they're super support heavy and they're looking to get tons of these procs to reset their cooldowns a bunch. I think this fix is simple enough too of like just cutting down the cooldown, even if it's from like 4 to 8 to 2 to 4 or something. I don't know if that's the correct numbers, but you know what I mean, right? Like I could see this getting nerfed as well. I would say Grizzly Rage is actually kind of crazy, but part of it is because of the aspects tied with it. So we talked about Rampaging Werebeast, right? Like on the surface, Grizzly Rage is kind of crazy. There's so many like little things too, because there's that, and then we have Calamity, which makes it last longer. Then we have Calm Before the Storm, which means you can like kind of reset the cooldowns, right? Grizzly Rage giving you permanent unstoppable. I feel like that's pretty fair because I don't think the problem is I don't think they really expect you to have Grizzly Rage up a ton, but then they give you all these tools that can help you keep it up longer or get it up quicker, right? So I don't think the kills extend the duration by 1 second up to 10 seconds is actually needed. I wouldn't even be opposed if they just cut that out just straight up. That seems kind of a lot. Gain Fortify per second while Grizzly Rage is active. I don't know if there's like a fair way to nerf that, but yeah, that's pretty strong because it kind of lets other builds gain access to Fortify. Baseline 20% bonus damage and 20% damage reduction. I think that's fine, but then for whatever reason on top of that, they have damage bonuses increased by 3% each second while in this form. Like if you're in the form for 20 seconds, that's 60% damage bonus added on to the 20% damage bonus. At the last, second, you're up to 80% damage bonus. Like, I don't know. Grizzly Rage is just insane. And then on top of that, we can use Direwolf we lose the damage reduction, but you get movement speed and spirit cost reduction. And kills heal you for 10% of your maximum life. So we're dropping 1 stat to pick up 3 stats for whatever reason. the other thing about this that I think doesn't make any sense, the movement speed and the damage reduction both get scaled on amulet and two-handed weapon. Why? I don't know. But I think if they just simply like blocked that, where it was just like, okay, you know, we'll leave the stats, but you can't scale it, right? You put it on an amulet, you can have up to 75% spirit cost reduction and like 37% movement speed, which is just crazy, right? So I think the nerf to this would just simply be like, don't let it work on like amulet and two-hander, like don't let the bonuses scale, and that would probably be fine. Masochistic, I think is like insane, but again, that might be because of like Earthen Might and the fact that like Tempest Roar and Vesely can give you shapeshifting on like Tornado and Landslide, right? I don't think this is, what's the word? I don't know if this is known enough for them to nerf this. And then it obviously takes advantage. It doesn't seem that crazy until you like also throw in Temerity on top of it, right? So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this nerf, but I'm not actually sure they're too aware of it. The rest of the boons are pretty fine though. But yeah. And so moving on from nerfs, buffs, honestly, I'm probably in the minority, but I think Druid's in a pretty good spot. I will say overall, probably the wolf side, like solo wolf, is the weakest part of the Druid. So we're not talking about like converting, you know, Storm to wolf, but just like Claw, Shred. Bloodhound is extremely good, but yeah, the whole defensive tree is like really good. But Rabies has been pretty underwhelming. I don't know if it just simply needs like a nice damage buff. I feel like the nodes behind it are kind of like uninspiring. I think the spread faster is fine. Dealing damage in 4 seconds instead of 6. I don't really get this. I understand, you know, it's like, I don't know, burstier, but I don't really see an advantage to this one. I wish this was something else. And then increasing damage over the life of the poison. Actually, that's kind of cool, but I think the damage could just go up and that would be pretty good. But I'd say overall, the werewolf skills in general feel a little weak for if you're going like a pure werewolf build. The capstone, it's okay. I think it kind of sort of synergizes with Shred. If you like, you know, just click Shred on your third hit, you know, or like the second time of your third hit, you could keep the bonus on the third hit. I wouldn't be opposed to this getting cut to like every third werewolf skill hit critically strikes. I think that would be cool. But yeah, so overall, I'd say like solo werewolf probably feels the weakest on Druid to me. The passives and stuff from werewolf are not bad, but the like Claw, Shred, and Rabies. Shred's got uses for like teleport and stuff. Shred's like okay. Maybe they like increase the AoE on Shred a little bit. Could feel a little better. But one other thing I'd say is Lightning Storm. I actually really like this skill. I think it's really fun to clear trash with and stuff like that. The one issue I have with it is whenever you fight a boss, the lightning will you only hit the boss with like one lightning strike. I have like a clip of it, but basically as you channel, once you get past like 3 stacks, for some reason the lightning strikes just completely diverge and they no longer hit straight down. And I'm guessing this might just be like a mechanic put in place so that you can't just like murder bosses with like a ton of lightning strikes, overcharge procs, and all that. But I was fighting a Shava, and you can hit a Shava with all 6 of these. So like a huge hitbox target, you can hit them all. But like a normal boss, or even just one singular elite monster, it feels really bad when you have a 6 stack up and you go to channel on them and one lightning bolt hits them. It feels... I don't think it would be that crazy if they just removed the spread. And I say that because whenever you are fighting monsters, if there's enough monsters in range for your strikes, it'll actually auto target the monsters. So it doesn't just spread and hit and like just do AoE. The bolts are like small AoE, but they'll target a monster. So I would be completely fine if the bolts just always homed in on a monster, right? So if there's only one monster, all the bolts just like hit one target. I really like Lightning Storm. I feel like the ability is so close to being like really fun and cool. It is fun and cool actually, to being like really good. I like Lightning Storm though. I think the whole Cataclysm, Lightning Storm, Lightning procs and all that is like a really cool side of Druid, but could use maybe a little bit of help. But other than that, honestly, closing thoughts on Druid before the game comes out. I think the Druid's in a great spot. I think the leveling experience is a little over exaggerated. I honestly don't think it's that bad. That being said, I run a specific build that I found that I really like for leveling that I think is really good. But for the average player, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, trying to level with like Lightning Storm or Tornado early on without like aspects and stuff are probably gonna feel a little awkward. Pulverize feels good when you're clearing trash, but then when you go to a campaign boss, it's like, where's my damage at? I think Shred's like a okay, landslide, whatever, but I could see like the average player definitely like hitting a wall early on Druid. But if you do know a little bit more about Druid and you understand Druid a little more, I think it's actually a pretty good leveler for a lot of reasons. But we'll see come launch. Again, I don't want to get too far off topic, but yeah, so that's where I'm at now. There's been no changes. Supposedly there was gonna be a day one patch, and now there's not gonna be a day one patch, or there's gonna be a smaller one. I don't know. All I'll say is I will, if there's any buffs, nerfs, as soon as I find them out after launch, I'm gonna try to like farm everything up. I'm gonna try to figure it out as quick as I can, and I'll definitely put out a video if we figure out something got changed or what it might be. But for now, everything's looking still on track. The only thing is like I might not actually run a mid-game build, because if you can actually get uniques early enough, we'll just switch over. So, but yeah, I probably rambled enough by now. This is the last video before the game comes out, so kind of just wanted to chat a little bit with you guys, see how it's going. And yeah, I will be playing on launch, so there won't be a video on Thursday. I will be trying to get one out as soon as I can. Like, I guess that would be like Friday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning, in Eastern time zone. So I'll try to put some videos out quick when I can, if I get my build online, all that sorts of stuff. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, until next time, I'll see you guys later.